Sometimes the messages stop coming. The calls that once made your heart race suddenly become rare, or worse, vanish completely. The excitement that lit up your days fades into silence. And there you are, stuck in a loop, asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Where did it all go? But what if I told you, it's not what you think? What if their pulling away has nothing to do with your worth or your actions? In this video, we're diving deep into the 7 hidden reasons why someone pulls away from you, even when everything seemed perfect on the surface. You'll discover truths that most people never talk about, truths that can free you from confusion, heal your heart, and empower you to take control of your love life. So, if you've ever felt abandoned, ghosted, or left in the dark, stay with me, because understanding these reasons will change the way you see relationships forever and give you the strength to rise above the pain. Let's uncover the real story behind the silence and turn that heartbreak into your greatest source of power. Number 1. They felt overwhelmed by intensity. At the beginning of any meaningful connection, everything feels like magic. The conversations flow effortlessly, eye contact feels electric, and emotions rise faster than we can process. In those moments, we often believe we've found someone who truly understands us. But sometimes that intensity, the depth of connection you feel, is not reciprocated the same way. Not because the other person doesn't care, but because they're not equipped to handle it. Many people carry emotional wounds from the past. Maybe they've been hurt, betrayed, or abandoned before. Maybe they were raised in environments where expressing emotions was unsafe. So when someone like you enters their life, someone who is genuine, emotionally expressive, and transparent, it doesn't always feel like comfort to them. It feels like a threat to their emotional control. You see, people with avoidant attachment styles are particularly prone to this reaction. When things get too close, too intense, or too real, they start to feel like they're losing themselves. Their first instinct is not to stay and explore the depth of this intimacy, but to pull back. And they often do so without warning, creating confusion for the person left behind. From your perspective, everything was going beautifully. You were showing up, being authentic, giving your time and energy without holding back. But in their internal world, alarms were going off. This is too much. What if I get hurt again? What if I can't live up to their expectations? These thoughts spiral until the only solution they see is distance. This is when the infamous slow fade happens. They start texting less, cancelling plans, becoming emotionally unavailable, and you're left wondering what went wrong. But the truth is, it's not about you. It's about the battle they're having with themselves. One of the most misunderstood facts in dating and relationships is this: not everyone pulls away because they've lost interest. Sometimes they pull away because they can't handle what you're offering. Your depth becomes a mirror they're afraid to look into. Your consistency exposes their inconsistency. Your emotional openness triggers their emotional fear. Here's what makes it even harder. You can't fix this for them. You can't convince them to be ready. You can't love them into healing. That work has to come from within, and unless they're willing to confront those fears, they'll keep running from real love every time it knocks on the door. So if someone pulled away just when things were getting intense, don't immediately assume you were too much. In fact, it's often the opposite. You were so real, so deep, so emotionally aligned that they didn't know what to do with that level of honesty. They weren't rejecting you. They were rejecting the vulnerability they'd have to face if they stayed. In a world full of surface-level connections, your intensity is not a weakness. It's your power. But only the emotionally mature will see it that way. Number 2. They got what they were looking for, then left. This is one of the hardest truths to accept, especially when your intentions were pure and your emotions were real. Sometimes people come into your life with a purpose that's very different from yours. While you're looking for connection, honesty, and commitment, they may be looking for a temporary fix, a feeling, a thrill, a validation boost. Once they get it, they slowly detach. Not because of who you are, but because they already got what they came for. At first, it seems perfect. They say all the right things, they invest time, and they mirror your energy. You feel seen, desired, and chosen. But suddenly, their interest starts fading. The texts become shorter. The excitement dies down. And before you know it, they're gone, leaving behind confusion and emotional chaos. Why does this happen? Because some people don't enter relationships to build. They enter to fill a temporary void. Maybe they were lonely. Maybe they needed a distraction after a breakup. Maybe they wanted to prove to themselves they could still attract someone like you. But once that emotional hunger was fed, they had no intention of staying. And here's what makes it worse. They rarely communicate their exit. They don't say, "Hey, I've gotten what I needed." Instead, they fade out. They ghost. They become emotionally unavailable, leaving you questioning everything. What hurts the most is not just their departure, but the feeling that you were never truly chosen for who you are. You were an experience to them, not a partner, and this realization can feel like betrayal, even if there was no formal commitment. But you must understand, this doesn't make you weak, naive, or foolish. It makes you human. You loved with openness. You gave with sincerity. And someone else took advantage of that without giving back. People like this are often emotionally immature. They're used to fast food relationships, quick hits of affection, attention, and validation with zero accountability. When they meet someone who offers depth, consistency, and real emotional presence, they don't know how to handle it. So they take what they want and disappear. They may even come back weeks or months later with a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" But remember, this is not them valuing you. This is them seeing if your door is still open, if they can get another round of that emotional energy you once gave freely. Don't let that confuse you. When someone pulls away after receiving your love and then returns when it's convenient for them, it's not love, it's emotional convenience. Here's the truth. The right person won't take your love and run. They'll reciprocate. They'll build. They'll stay when things get real, not vanish. So stop asking yourself, "What did I do wrong?" and start asking, "Why did I attract someone who wasn't ready to receive what I gave?" You didn't lose them. They lost you. Because real connection isn't built on momentary desire. It's built on mutual respect, effort, and emotional maturity. When someone gets what they want and leaves, let that be your red flag. Let it be your lesson, not your identity. You are not disposable. You are not just good for the moment. You are worth being chosen every single day, and nothing less. Number 3, You unintentionally made them feel unworthy. One of the most overlooked truths in relationships is this. Sometimes your light can blind people who haven't yet discovered their own. You didn't brag. You didn't boast. You were simply being yourself, strong, self-aware, emotionally mature. But even that can trigger deep insecurity in someone who hasn't done the inner work. At first, they were drawn to you. Your confidence, your insight, your emotional intelligence. It fascinated them. You felt like a breath of fresh air, something they never experienced before. But over time, instead of feeling inspired, they started to feel exposed. Every time you spoke with clarity, it reminded them how confused they felt inside. Every time you stood your ground, it reminded them of how often they compromised themselves. You weren't trying to make them feel less, but to someone battling low self-worth, your very existence became a mirror they didn't want to look into. They may not have told you this. Most people don't say, "I feel small around you," or "I don't think I deserve you." Instead, they begin to pull away. They create distance, not because you hurt them, but because they're hurting inside. It becomes a silent competition in their mind, one that you didn't sign up for. They may even try to poke holes in your character just to level the playing field. They find faults in your strength. They question your intentions. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because they feel like they're less than around you, and they don't know how to cope. This is common in relationships where one person is emotionally evolved and the other is still figuring themselves out. Love starts to feel like intimidation. Respect turns into fear. And instead of growing together, they silently bow out, hoping that by walking away, they can avoid the pain of not being good enough. What's tragic is that this isn't about you at all. It's about their unhealed inner child, their shame, their unmet needs. And unless they recognize this pattern and do the inner work, they'll keep pulling away from anyone who challenges them to rise higher. So what can you do when this happens? First, don't dim your light. Don't shrink yourself just to make someone else comfortable. You've worked hard to become who you are, and the right person will celebrate that, not feel threatened by it. Second, understand that love doesn't mean healing someone else's wounds. You can be supportive, but you can't rescue someone from their own reflection. Their healing is their responsibility. Finally, take this experience as proof of your growth. If your presence alone causes someone to question their worth, it means you've reached a level of awareness many never do. That's not something to hide. It's something to honor. In the end, you didn't lose someone. They lost the chance to grow beside you. You showed them what's possible. They just weren't ready to step into that possibility. And that's okay. Not everyone is ready for real love, depth, and truth. But you are, and that's why they couldn't stay. Number 4, you became predictable too fast. Let's be honest, mystery plays a huge role in human attraction. Especially in the early stages of connection, unpredictability creates excitement. It fuels curiosity. It keeps the other person thinking, what's next? But the moment you give everything away too soon, your time, your emotions, your energy, without boundaries or balance, things start to shift. You become predictable. And predictability in a romantic sense often leads to emotional complacency. This doesn't mean you should play games or be cold. It means you should honor your own space and pace. When you make someone the center of your world too quickly, it sends a subtle signal. You have nothing else going on. You're always available. You respond instantly. You cancel your plans to accommodate theirs. At first, they love the attention, but soon it becomes routine. There's no mystery left, no chase, no curiosity, and as painful as it sounds, humans often stop value in what they believe they already have. In their mind, there's no longer anything to explore, no depth to uncover. The emotional highs become flat, and they start pulling away, not out of cruelty, but out of a subconscious need to find stimulation elsewhere. You didn't do anything wrong. You were just too generous with your presence. But in love, too much access too soon can lead to emotional boredom. We often associate love with total availability. But attraction is not just built on kindness, it's built on balance. The balance between being present and maintaining independence. The balance between showing interest and keeping mystery alive. When someone knows they can reach you anytime, get your attention with a single message, and always receive a yes, they stop investing the same energy. Why chase something that doesn't move? Here's the thing, you were never boring. You just became too emotionally consistent for someone who's used to emotional unpredictability. And sadly, people who are addicted to toxic patterns often interpret peace as dullness. They associate drama with passion, uncertainty with excitement. So, when you offer steady, grounded love, it confuses them, and they begin to pull away. So, what can you do differently moving forward? Don't overshare too quickly. Keep parts of your story to yourself until trust is earned. Allow time and space between conversations. Let your presence be valuable, not just available. Also, continue living your life. Prioritize your goals, your routines, your friends, not to make them jealous or chase you, but because you are a whole person outside of any relationship, and that's what keeps attraction alive. The right person won't be turned off by your boundaries. They'll respect them. They won't need you to be available 24/7 to feel connected. They'll admire your independence and find beauty in the mystery that unfolds slowly. In the end, don't see their pulling away as a sign that you weren't enough. Instead, see it as a lesson. Love thrives in balance, not in total access. Your job is not to be constantly present. Your job is to be authentically you and let the right person discover you layer by layer, not all at once. Number 5. They're dealing with a battle. You can't see one of the most misunderstood and overlooked reasons people pull away is this. They're silently fighting a battle you know nothing about. It's easy to assume someone lost interest, found someone else, or just didn't care. But what if they're simply exhausted? Not physically, but mentally and emotionally drained by inner demons they never talk about. Many people carry unresolved trauma, anxiety, depression, or identity struggles. They go through life putting on a smile, laughing with friends, and even dating with charm. But beneath the surface they're drowning. And when something real shows up, like the love, care and presence you offer, it becomes too much for them. Not because your love is wrong, but because it requires a level of emotional availability they don't yet have. When someone is dealing with internal chaos, connection can feel like pressure. Answering a text feels overwhelming. Planning a date feels like a burden. They're not trying to be cold, they're trying to survive, and their silence is their only way of staying in control. The problem is, they rarely tell you this. Most people don't say, "I'm emotionally spiraling and don't know how to ask for help." Instead, they withdraw. They become distant, unresponsive, unpredictable. They avoid connection, not because you're unworthy of it, but because they can't offer it right now. You might replay every conversation in your mind, wondering, did I say something wrong? Was I too much? Did I scare them off? But the truth is, it wasn't about you at all. Their silence isn't rejection. It's a symptom of someone who's emotionally overwhelmed, under-supported, and unable to process real intimacy. Let's get real. People who are emotionally struggling often feel ashamed. Society tells them to be strong, man up, keep it together. So when they fall apart inside, they isolate. They cut people off, not because they want to, but because they don't want to be seen in that broken state. Imagine someone battling depression. Every message they receive feels like a task. Every, "Hey, how are you?" feels like a question they can't answer truthfully. So, they stay quiet, hoping you'll forget them, or that time will fix everything. But all it does is create a painful gap, one that leaves you confused and hurt. What makes this so painful is the emotional limbo it creates. They didn't break up with you. They didn't say goodbye. They just faded. And you're left waiting, hoping for clarity, closure, or even a simple explanation. But when someone is emotionally lost, they can't give you what they don't have. And expecting them to do so will only deepen your own pain. So what should you do? First, acknowledge that not every disconnection is personal. You may love someone deeply, and they may even love you back. But love isn't enough when someone is mentally unwell. Their healing journey is theirs to walk, and no amount of support from you can replace the internal work they need to do. Second, resist the urge to chase. It's natural to want to fix things, to offer comfort, to say, "I'm here, just talk to me." But when someone pulls away due to internal battles, they may perceive your care as pressure. Let them come back when and if they're ready. Third, protect your peace. It's hard, yes, but don't drown trying to save someone who's already chosen to retreat. If you keep pouring into someone who has emotionally shut the door, you'll end up empty. Sometimes love means stepping back so the other person can face themselves. Lastly, if they do return, broken, honest, and ready to open up, you get to decide if you still have space for them. You owe them nothing. Your peace matters just as much as their healing. People often say, "If they loved me, they wouldn't pull away." But the truth is more complex. Sometimes people pull away because they do care, but they can't carry both their pain and a relationship. In the end, the most powerful thing you can do is this: wish them healing, release the blame, and return home to yourself. Your love is not wasted. It simply reached someone who didn't have the capacity to hold it. Number 6. You gave without boundaries. Love is beautiful when it's generous. When you care without keeping score, when you give your time, your energy, your heart, it's one of the most selfless things a human can do. But sometimes we confuse love with overgiving. We think the more we give, the more they'll stay. The more we forgive, the more they'll appreciate us. And slowly, we teach them how to treat us, without even realizing it. Here's the hard truth. Giving without boundaries doesn't build respect. It often leads to being taken for granted. In the beginning, they might admire how thoughtful, available, and kind you are. But over time, if you continue saying yes when your heart says no, if you continue accepting less than you deserve, you become easy to walk away from. Not because you weren't good enough, but because you made yourself too available without requiring reciprocity. Think about it. How many times did you rearrange your schedule just to fit theirs? How often did you listen to their problems but never felt heard yourself? How many times did you forgive broken promises, hoping they'd finally value your patience? You weren't wrong for giving. Your heart was in the right place. But in giving too much without protecting your emotional space, you sent a message that your needs didn't matter. And once that dynamic is set, they stop trying. They stop showing up. Because they know you'll always be there. You became predictable, not in a comforting way, but in a "they'll never leave me no matter what I do" way. This doesn't just happen in romantic relationships. It can happen in friendships, family bonds, even workplace dynamics. The more you overfunction, the more others underfunction. The more you give without limits, the more they expect it as a norm, not a gift. And here's where it gets even more painful. When you finally decide to set a boundary, they pull away. Suddenly, the person who was always texting, calling, needing you is silent. Why? Because you're no longer the source of unlimited emotional supply. You're no longer their safe haven to take from without giving back. And instead of adjusting, many people choose to disappear. Not because you changed, but because you finally honored yourself. It's heartbreaking. You think, I gave them everything. How could they leave now? But the truth is, they were only ever comfortable in the version of you that didn't have boundaries. The moment you said, no more, they showed their true nature. But this is not a failure. It's a filter. When you set boundaries, you don't push people away. You reveal who was only there for the benefits. You separate the takers from the builders, the temporary from the genuine. So what does giving with boundaries look like? It looks like loving someone deeply, but not abandoning yourself in the process. It looks like listening with compassion, but also expecting to be heard. It looks like doing acts of kindness without keeping score, but not tolerating disrespect in the name of love. Boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges of respect. They allow connection to flourish while preserving your emotional well-being. They say, I love you, but I also love myself. And I'm not willing to sacrifice my peace for your comfort. When someone pulls away after you set a boundary, let them go. Don't beg. Don't chase. Don't explain what you're entitled to. Let your silence speak for the value they failed to recognize. In the end, remember this. Your worth isn't measured by how much you give. It's measured by how well you protect your heart while giving. The right person won't run when you set limits. They'll rise to meet you there, because real love honors boundaries, not just benefits. Number 7. You triggered. Their fear of real love. Love is one of the most powerful experiences we can have, but paradoxically it's also one of the most terrifying for many people. The moment real love shows up, it demands something profound: vulnerability, consistency, and courage. And for those who have never truly experienced or been prepared for healthy love, this can trigger an intense fear, a fear so deep that their natural response is to run. This fear of real love is not about you. It's about them, their past wounds, their unresolved trauma, and their unfamiliarity with safety in relationships. Often, people grow up witnessing dysfunctional love mixed with conflict, neglect, or emotional unavailability. So when they finally encounter someone who offers genuine care, kindness, and commitment, it feels alien. It's unfamiliar territory, and their instincts scream danger. Real love is messy. It requires showing up when you don't feel like it. It means being honest about your fears, your needs, your flaws. It means holding space, not only for joy but also for discomfort and growth. For someone who's only ever known surface-level affection or drama-filled passion, this steady, grounded love can feel suffocating. Because real love means change. It means growing beyond old patterns, facing painful truths, and letting go of self-protective walls. This is frightening. For some, it's easier to pull away than to face the unknown journey that love demands. When you triggered their fear of real love, it might have looked like this. They became distant when you tried to deepen the connection. They avoided conversations about the future. They pulled back emotionally right when things were getting serious. It's not because they stopped caring. It's because their inner world wasn't ready to handle the outer reality of what you offered. This reaction is rooted in survival. Their nervous system associates closeness with vulnerability, and vulnerability with risk. So when you show them a version of love that requires vulnerability, their body and mind push back, sometimes with anger, sometimes with silence, sometimes by disappearing. But here's the beautiful truth. Your ability to love deeply is not a flaw. Your consistency and emotional presence are gifts. You are offering healing love, a love that can transform and rebuild. Unfortunately, not everyone is ready to receive that kind of love, no matter how much they desire it. This is why many people test relationships by pushing partners away. They unconsciously ask, "Will you leave me if I show you my broken parts?" When the answer seems yes, even if it's just a temporary pullback, their survival instinct wins, and they retreat to protect their heart. The pain of being pulled away by someone who truly cares is one of the hardest experiences to endure. But it's also an invitation for growth, for both of you. For them, it's a call to heal their wounds and unlearn old fears. For you, it's a call to recognize your worth and refuse to shrink yourself to avoid triggering others. Remember, love that causes you to question your value or doubt your truth is not the love you deserve. The right person will stay, not because love is easy, but because they're willing to face the fear and grow with you. So if you've been pulled away from just when love started to feel real, don't blame yourself. You were too much in the best way. You were the love they secretly wanted, but were too afraid to accept. And one day, when they're ready, they might come back. But if they don't, your journey is to continue loving yourself fiercely and waiting for someone who celebrates the depth you bring. Understanding why someone pulls away is never simple, but it's crucial for your emotional growth and future relationships. Most of the time, their departure isn't about your flaws. It's about their fears, their struggles, or their unreadiness for real love. You have to remind yourself, their choice to leave says more about them than it does about your worth. Your value remains unchanged regardless of their actions. Instead of chasing or begging for answers, use this moment to stand firm in your boundaries, nurture your self-love, and continue your journey of becoming the best version of yourself. When you honor your growth, the right people will be drawn to you naturally, people who are ready to stay, fight, and build with you, even through the hardest times. If you found these insights helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep relationship wisdom and emotional empowerment. Comment below which reason resonated most with you. I'd love to hear your story.